The Shin Megami Tensei series is one I've been getting into ever since I played Persona 5 back in 2018. And of course, I've been making my way through some of the older Persona titles and the SMT titles as well. Then, when I was reminded that SMT5 was in development, when they showed off in the direct and stuff, and of course just me slowly getting interested in the series, I was interested in that as well, since at the time when they first initially announced it back in 2017, we only saw t-shirt stuff like, oh yeah, this game's in development, and that's pretty much it. But when we finally got a release window and more footage from all that, it made me a lot more interested. And then it released later in 2021, or at least last year until this video, on November 12th for everyone else outside of Japan. And I did get a day one. And with that, let's get into the video, starting with my first like, that being the gameplay. It's the standard press-to-earn system that was in games like SMT3, 4, Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2, and a few others. But this entry has a few different stuff that I kinda did like. One of them is called the Makatsuchi gauge, and it has many different uses from either buffing you, adding some random stats to the enemy, debuffing, or doing some strong attack. And while some of them are better than the others, it's still fun to experiment with, and I like how much more depth it adds to fights. There's also another change to how the press turn works, where you can like keep passing over your turn as long as there's no like flashing icons to get to a certain demon. And this I kind of liked, since say if you really just need to get to that last guy, you can do it easily, because in other games, say if you pass your turn over, that demon will have to act or else they just lose the turn. And the buffing more or less works how it does in Persona, with I think a minor change where say if your buff is about to run out, you can stack up to 2 times the strength. I don't know if it actually is that impactful, but you can do that. That also works with debuffing as well, so you can stack up 2 defense buffs and 2 defense debuffs and just stuff like that. It's super great, and it's definitely one of the best systems I've played so far, which is good considering there's a lot of fighting in this game. I also really liked how explorable the areas are, and I think it's just really fun to navigate them and just find all the random small locations. With all the field bosses and Mima you can find is also nice, since it definitely helped me explore the entire map, because you also get rewarded with either just glory points, which is also another thing you can collect, which helps you upgrade your character, and also just get a whole bunch of new experience. And also some of them are tied to like side quests, so finding them is also really rewarding in that case. And it's packed to the brim with stuff to see and stuff to do, which considering there's only like 4 main big areas, it's a good thing. And again, you get rewarded with doing this stuff, and that's also just another really good aspect of it. So there's a lot of good reasons to go off the beaten path in this game. I also did like the bosses in this one, both the optional ones and the main story ones. I felt they were all, if not most of them, had some fun challenges, and they all had me on my toes. And this is just me speaking from playing on normal. Again, this is for the side quest ones, the field bosses, and the main story ones. I didn't face any of the DLC bosses since I don't have it, but I thought they were at least somewhat fun, especially like the Demi-Fiend one and the ones associated with him. Some of my favorite bosses from this entry definitely have to be the Fawn McCallaghan fights, the boss rush near the end against Odin, Zeus, and Vlashki, along with the one against Yakumo. And I think the game's pretty fun, and I would totally recommend it on gameplay alone. It's one of the most fun Shin Megami Tensei games I've played so far, and I'm more than happy to go back to it on hard mode, maybe this time with the DLC. And definitely there's a lot of stuff that I was really excited for the game, since my experience with the other titles kind of raised it up, and the fact that when we got trailers, it all looked pretty cool. But even then, there were some aspects I just don't really like and just found to be pretty lackluster, and one of the parts is the characters, and I found them to be uninteresting for the most part. If they had any depth, it was pretty much in the final area, which I really didn't like at all. I kind of just forgot about them until they kind of showed up in a cutscene where they just stood around while getting like told what to do and getting told some of the lore. And while someone like Dazai had some development, I felt his was kind of forced, since throughout the game he's just there being useless, I guess. I don't know, we just get told that he's not that good, and then near the end he kind of just is like, well, if anyone's going to save the world, it's going to be Abdiel, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of lackluster in that case. And everyone else I think is just, again, underwhelming, which sucks because someone like Aogami and Tao I thought could have been cool considering their roles in the story, but there's nothing really changing that. Maybe if this game got like a re-release, maybe they can like fix some of the problems, but even then, the game has been in development for a while, so I kind of thought all these issues should have been like addressed during that point. I also didn't like how most of the areas just look really boring. All the dad areas pretty much look the same minus a color or two, and when we get two real dungeons, everything else outside of there is just like a room or two, and it's just not interesting visually. There are some small parts in the areas that look cool, like the fairy village, the pier in the Agawa area, and lots of the parts in the final dad area. I wish there's a lot more variety, like the last two dungeons, for example, because I thought those were a really great contrast. I also found the pacing of the story to be pretty poor, since a lot of the main events happen in the final hours of the game. The stuff here is nice, it's just that a lot of the lore gets dumped near the end with almost nothing in between. You also do get told some of the lore in between some events, but again, it's just very minor, and then you just get everything shoved to the end, as I just said. Most of the time you just get told, hey, go to this location because the Bethel branch needs help because this bad thing is happening, and that's really it. Characters might question it once or twice, but really they just go, okay, well, let's go help them. It also sucks because you don't meet characters like Odin, Zeus, or Vlashki for a while, which is odd to me because they are all considered to be important characters, at least for how the end game happens. I just wish I had more time with these characters and whatnot, since, I thought they could have had a lot cooler moments. And I could say, while SMT5 is a fun game, almost every other aspect was mostly lackluster. I just wish the characters had more to do, and for me, this is definitely one of the most forgettable casts I've seen so far. And that's why I mentioned that I would recommend the game on its gameplay alone, since everything else is just okay to boring. There's also parts like the side quests just being okay, since a lot of them are just collect this thing or kill this demon, and there's some ones that have like different choices, like the seeking sanctuary quest, which can be nice since the different choices can help it feel a little bit more unique. There's another part which I found to be odd, like your level being a factor of how much damage you do, which can limit some challenge runs, but it didn't really affect my playthrough, but I can imagine some others would be far more annoyed by it. But with that, I want to hear what you guys ended up liking and disliking about this entry. Let me know in the comments below. But of course, before the video ends, I'll go over my likes and dislikes. Likes, fun gameplay, nice explorability, and good bosses. Dislikes, poor characterization and just characters in general. Areas looking boring / mostly slimmer, and bad pacing. Thank you all for watching. See you guys later. And don't forget to like, comment, sub, and follow my Twitter, which is linked down below.